Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Space Age podcast. We have a very special edition today. I have with me Bill Crowley. So, Bill Crowley is one of our business development managers. And part of the reason I wanted to have him come onto the podcast and speak with me today is Bill comes from a background of logistics. He worked with JCI Simplex for a long time, and he actually started at Space Age Electronics either 1 or 2 months before I did. So I wanted to have a conversation with him talking about how he learned about Space Age and about some of the things that he's learned from Space Age, being around as long as I have. Hey, Bill, welcome to the podcast.
Kasey, glad to be here. Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, it's I'm excited, always excited to talk to you. You, like I said, you have a definitely a different background from me. Mine's more fire alarm tech, like polling wire install stuff. Plus, I worked as a BDM for another fire alarm manufacturer. But what exactly was your background before Space Age?
Oh, wow. Well, I started off my career in electrical contracting.
Okay.
Back I originally from the DC metropolitan area and lived in Maryland. And my dad was a general contractor. So he kind of pushed me into the trade. He pushed me into the electrical trade and summer help and stuff like that. And mostly all commercial. And I was actually a IBEW union electrician out of local 26.
I totally forgot that you actually used to like bend pipe and pull wire.
Yeah, yeah, I've done that and pulled feeders and yeah, it was fun. It was great, a learning experience being, in my teens on into 20s, and it actually, it paid for college. I went to Maryland University, and it got me through school. Took me a little longer than normal to get through school, but I did. And then back in the 80s, there was a recession, so I had to pick my tools back up. It was kind of humbling.
Is that back
But I
when
was,
music played on like a little thing called a tape?
it's called a cassette.
A cassette. Okay. Write
Yeah,
that
yeah,
down.
a cassette.
Cassette.
I don't know if you've ever seen it. It might be in the Smithsonian now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I read about that in my history book.
So, but yeah, I was, I was I'd moved to Florida. I graduated school and I just wanted to go south, pretty girls and, beaches, stuff like that.
And so is that so in Florida? Is that how you got into? Did is that where you started working for JCI? Or sorry, it was Simplex back then, right?
No, it was Simplex Time Recorder Company.
Oh, okay.
So I was in electrical contracting, and it was a really interesting. I moved from the field pretty quickly into the inside, and I did a lot of different roles. I was in estimating and procurement, and then junior PM, and then just I found Simplex Time Recorder Company in the Tampa area, and I came on board. They were getting into they were primarily a manufacturer selling systems and products, but in that market, the market was demanding turnkey solutions.
Okay.
So they had no concept on how to, install systems. They just wanted to sell more product. So that's what they did, and then they exploded after that from that perspective, and then they picked up a lot of big work, and they didn't understand program management. They couldn't spell RFI. They didn't know what an RFI was.
Yeah, you've explained to many of us within Space Age how to do RFIs, a lot about contract documents and things like that. Because it's
Right.
I fall asleep when I read them. It's if I can't sleep, I either read a code book or I read an RFI that someone wants to submit. So you so it sounds like your electrical background helped you to get into Simplex to understand, help them do their turnkey solutions. We always love the term solution, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then how long did you work in that capacity as like a coordinator, as a manager at
I
Simplex?
was a coordinator for about a year, and then we picked up this really big project, and I kind of elevated into project management as an assistant PM, and then became a project manager, and then a project senior project manager over a really long duration career. And started teaching project management. I had a couple of mentors that came on board as the Simplex time recorder company was growing into that capacity.
So coordinating, I mean, one main reason why I wanted to talk to you today is all around the industry, I have so many companies asking me, "Hey, do you know any fire alarm technicians? Do you know anyone? We need people. We need people left and right so much, and we just don't have enough time to do all these jobs." And I always thought, I'm like, they need a bill to help like manage their time and to manage their projects. Wasn't it? Weren't you a customer of Space Age before you actually started working for Space Age?
Um, well, yes, yeah, in the capacity of Simplex, or and then through to a couple of corporate mergers, Tyco, then JCI. Yeah, we bought from we bought product through Space Age. But my first initial, I didn't even know Space Age existed, because back in the 90s, um, and early 2000s, they were predominantly an OEM manufacturer. They were,
Right.
you know, they were behind the scenes. They would provide product to that the Simplex channel, and they were, but we never knew. I never knew the relays came from Space Age. I didn't know that they fabricated stuff for Simplex. Um, and It wasn't until I had an issue on a project, and it was a little project over on the uh, east coast of Florida called Kennedy Space Center,
Okay.
uh, and we were doing a network upgrade, and we had to. Um, they had this switch in the panel that they added, um, that only the federal government can do. Put the network into repeater mode and off the batteries, and we put a toggle switch in the panel, and it was crazy. And I was like, we were having network issues, and I had to fly R&D down, and they're like, "What the heck is that?" I go, "Well, that's repeater mode." He says, "You can't do that." I says, "Well, my contract says I have to, so you can't use that. You got to create an electronic switch." I go, "Make me an electronic switch." So we did, and I said, "Great, I need 200 of them now." "Well, I'm not making you 200. Who is?" "Space Age." I go, "Who?"
Oh, okay, that makes
So
sense.
that's how I learned Space Age. Space Age made me 200 electronic switches, and pretty much got us out of trouble. I mean, it helped the network. It wasn't the only thing on the network that was an issue, but they created the electronic switch. And after that, I started to learn more and more about Space Age.
Yeah, that's wow. I had no idea we even made those. I know we make switches all the time. When I when I talk to customers and I'm going around, I kind of describe us as the manufacturer's manufacturer,
Yeah. Hmm.
where people if people don't, if a JCI or a Honeywell or an EST doesn't have time to make something, or there's too much red tape, we'll kind of prove the concept and then
Yeah.
manufacture it ourselves and provide that. So Bill, since you have this background of operations, is there, and you've now come into Space Age and you see all the products that we have and all the solutions we have, is there certain products you wish you would have known about when you were in operations?
Oh yeah, yeah. One that resonates is the IM cover plate that Space Age made for the Simplex line, auto call line. This is a really simple but fantastic solution. Didn't even know about that until I came on board. I was so mad. I would have had this on every one of my projects. The other one that I love the best is really neat is the Tiger Claw. I didn't know about it. Um, this is a really simple solution for mounting devices in the ceiling.
Right.
Um, you can take, R5 square box if you need it. If you need more, or you can just take a regular 4 square, which is great. Being an old electrician, you snap it right in, and then you're ready to go. Or if you really want to get creative, you can use a 3/0 ring on the 4 square, or a single gang P ring on the 4 square,
Right.
and then you can mount test switches, you can mount exit signs, you can mount anything.
Yeah, I wish
That's
I knew
awesome.
about those. I wish I knew about the Tiger Claw because I've
Yeah,
put a lot of uh, grid hangers up and dropped hardware off the ladder, and then
yeah,
your ladder's on
yeah,
top of a mezzanine, so you got to go down to the first floor because you dropped your screw. And yeah, definitely that's something before I wish I would have known about before I worked for
yeah,
Space Age.
yeah. Yeah, I was talking to a dealer this morning at like 7 o'clock, and he's like, "Man, I want to get this. Can you give me a better price on the Tiger Claw? Because I want to try to get this electrician to use it because I know it's going to save me time and money down the road." I said, "So okay, I'll take care of you."
Yeah, and I think that I didn't even know that those IM cover plates existed. I've seen a few auto column simplex installs and stuff. I think those are great. It's funny because
Yeah,
it's so simple, right?
yeah,
It's kind
exactly.
of it's kind of what we kind of do is because all of us BDMs have such different but similar backgrounds with fire alarm and with life safety. I
Right.
didn't realize before I took this job that we would be like making products, like designing stuff. It's been kind of cool
Yeah,
for me.
yeah. And my favorite thing right now is prefab solutions, pre-wired solutions. I was doing that before I left. On my last project I was doing, it was a big 60 node network, 300 feet underground in New York, and we created some prefab solutions for interfaces. So that's a game changer. I mean, I don't think anybody's doing that.
I I don't know if anyone else is doing it. And it's like I said before. I mean, with manpower being a little bit harder to find right now. I mean, if you just spend a
Absolutely.
little bit extra time to do a prefab solution, I mean, it saves hours and hours. And you and I both know that because we've done install, how much time it saves
Right.
to do
Yeah.
prefab.
And also you're meeting the contract requirement of coordination. You're
Right.
pulling coordination earlier in the process of the project.
Right.
So so one thing I should be probably talking to is MEP coordinators on with all the GCs.
Hmm.
Who's your MEP coordinator? Have you ever looked at this? This could help you, facilitate your project because the projects are getting shorter. Projects are
Yeah.
timelines on projects are shorter.
Yeah.
So
They really are. Well, I man, I'm so excited to see the new things that we keep coming out with, and I'm glad you actually brought up those products because there's something that people really need to know about is how much time savings and we keep saying the term like solutions. We offer a lot of solutions and stuff, and I'm glad I actually got to know a little bit more of your background. It's been fun.
Yeah. Well, you know, an old friend of mine said, "Equipment's cheap, labor's expensive."
Right. So Bill, something that I didn't know really existed or mattered before I started with Space Age was rescue assistance, two-way communication. Did you do any of that stuff before Space Age?
No, I didn't. I didn't even know it existed. I mean, I was pretty much all fire alarm and sprinkler, and it was relatively new to me.
Yeah, it's you think you know everything about the industry, then all of a sudden something
Yeah.
comes up. And what's interesting is it kind of fits. It's life safety. It fits perfectly into life safety. Have you? How has it been educating people about two-way? Do most people know about it, or what has been the feedback?
It's coming. It's taken 2 years in the role. Almost 2 years in the role. It's new. I mean, it's been out there, but it's the other systems that are out there on the market are like either mini phone systems or PBXs or hybrid nurse call systems and stuff like that. But there's really no code or standard around it. Now there is. Now there's a standard. There's a UL standard, and NFPA is coming along in Chapter 24, and then the I code is really confusing sometimes. If you read the I code, especially around, it's all associated with egress, right?
Right. Yeah.
How do you get out of a building? And if you are impaired, and that's really intended for those people that are impaired or ADA is really where it comes from.
Right.
How do you get out of the building if you're 3 stories up and you're in a wheelchair or you're in a walker and the elevators have been recalled, right?
Yeah. It's a and that's kind of how I understand it as. It really is a life safety thing, and like you said, it's not necessarily going to be designed like a phone PBX because it needs to be like life safety standards with like
Right, right,
integrity of the wire and battery backup and stuff like that. And so
yeah,
that's what I've been trying to talk about with a lot
right,
of people.
right. It's got, you know, our system, the way ours is designed has a lot of fire alarm architecture behind it. It has that supervision capability. It has that circuit integrity. You have a break, you're going to get a fault. You have ground fault detection. Um, And then you have survivability. The other thing is survivability. I mean,
Right.
you meet survivability requirements now. 2-hour survivability requirements they're really important, and that's where people miss it. In the installation side of it, um, uh, our system is friendly to that, based on our architecture.
Yeah, it has the daisy chain wiring.
Yeah,
When I talk to
yep,
people, it's like, well, just like how you'd wire up a smoke loop or
yep,
initiation loop on a fire alarm, same thing with us, twisted pair.
yep.
And usually, once they understand that, it's like, oh, this is just. It's not like a mini fire alarm, but it's a
Yeah,
mini life safety system. And then
I,
usually they feel a lot more comfortable doing it and providing it in their bids to GCs or electrical contractors, whatever they're doing.
right, right. And it's still evolving. I mean, from what I hear, the 2022 code is thinking about bringing it, Class A. It's right now Class B. So it's gonna change. It's gonna change the industry, that's for sure. And it's all about means and methods. I mean, getting back to the installation side, you know, um, where are you gonna put the money? You're gonna put the money in the product, or you're gonna put the money, out in the field with labor. I
Right.
mean, some of the other systems you have to home run every,
Every station.
every station,
Yeah.
and with survivability and maybe having to, if you can't get in a 2-hour rated enclosure, you're gonna have to use CI cable. That can get really costly.
Yeah, and like you said, people are always more expensive, and it's a lot easier to track product costs than labor costs.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's a swag, right? A strategic wild guess.
Yeah, I love helping people guess.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, I think that was all the questions I had today. Thanks for spending the time with me. I really learned a lot, and I think I have some new strategies on how to help educate people on some of our solutions.
Kasey, I really appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you and talk about this stuff, and it's fun. And it's all about life safety and taking care of people and property.
Yep, and the solutions. I appreciate
Yep.
that. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Space Age podcast. If you have any questions about the products we've talked about or some of the solutions that we offer, always go and visit onesae.com. And if you want to reach out to a local BDM, there you can find their map on that website. Also, look for us on LinkedIn. We always love to interact with those and answer questions about life safety or answer questions about our solutions. So thanks, guys, for watching.